What has grief been like for you? Do you still grieve?
Yeah, you don't stop grieving.
It's a crazy world, crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you.
All right, good people, it is October 24th, 2024. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube Locals. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell if you have not. We will not have a post-game show today due to the fact that I have to make a flight to New York. I'll be on the Jesse Waters show on Fox this evening, the Greg Gutfeld show tomorrow, a couple other things, and perhaps even a big surprise on Sunday. Why am I talking like that? That was weird. What do you put in my coffee? Guys, we got about, 8-9 days left till this freaking thing happens, and apparently the October surprise happened yesterday. I have a feeling there'll be some others, but yes, it involves Hitler. Surprise, surprise. So we will recap some Hitler stuff, and then we will also recap the absolutely ridiculous and frankly insulting. I know that I don't expect much from the Democrats. You don't expect much from the Democrats. You don't expect much from the machine, from the media, from the elites, all of this stuff. But Kamala Harris did a town hall, a prepackaged, ridiculously overly produced and controlled town hall last night on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and she was profoundly horrible. There are so many clips to show you. We had to select just a few of them because we couldn't do a whole show on it. But she genuinely is the worst candidate probably in American presidential history. And she might be the president. That's the weird thing. So we'll see what happens in about a week and a half. But first, let's talk about Hitler and some other stuff. This is from the Daily Wire. I believe Ben Shapiro wrote this himself. October surprise, media launch ugliest anti-Trump smears yet. We are now less than 2 weeks away from Election Day. The state of the race is that Donald Trump appears to be ahead going into the home stretch. Now the time has come for the October surprises. The Democrats have a problem when it comes to surprises with Trump. This has been true for years because Trump is a monster made out of mud. When you throw more mud at a monster made out of mud, it just turns out that he looks like a monster made out of mud. Trump is the black socks of presidential candidates. Black socks never get dirty. The longer you wear them, the blacker they get. The White House notified members of the press that Harris would be speaking from the vice president's residence at the Naval Observatory. During the 15-minute speech, the VP compared Trump to Hitler and attacked the former president for a since-rebuked story about a slain U.S. soldier. Ezra Cohen compared Harris's move to the classic D.C. swamp playbook: plant a fake story with a captured journalist/media outlet, then cite the fake story in a political attack, similar to the fabricated Steele dossier story. Okay, so we've seen this a million times before, and I think that's why I wanted to read Ben's analysis there. That this is what they do. Somebody says something usually about Hitler or Hitlerish something, fascism, something. You lay it in the media starts running with it. We know how the headlines go: Hitler, 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 and then everyone has to, including me, has to then either debunk it or address it, et cetera, and then of course Kamala uses it to get up there and basically once again say that Donald Trump, who has Jewish grandchildren, is Adolf Hitler.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired four-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans.
I know you guys aren't buying this stuff anymore, so I don't think we have to overanalyze it. Suffice to say that no, Donald Trump did not say he was going to turn the military on U.S. citizens. They're the ones that are using the Justice Department against Americans. Like, you guys get it. But this is it. Like, as you get closer to Election Day, as the thing gets tighter and tighter and tighter and the timeline shrinks, it has to all get crazier, right? Like, there's nothing left. They do not have a good candidate. They cooed the old man, and I think they kind of regret it at this point. The woman is profoundly horrible and unqualified and unprepared to do this. So you just got to go Hitler on steroids. That's where it's at. Now, it's funny because she's very concerned that Donald Trump is comparing himself to Hitler, or people are saying that he's like Hitler or something like that. But she has no problem calling him a fascist and everything else.
All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there, and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Lady, let me be frank. I'll take unchecked power Hitler over you. Again, it's all projection. It's all hysteria. The man was president and is not president. You guys use the judicial system. You guys are also the ones, when she's talking about he wants unchecked power, you guys are the ones literally, and I think we have a clip on it a little bit later, you guys are the ones that want to stack the Supreme Court so that you can disrupt the balance of power and checks and balances and make sure you can push your agenda through. But there's also this funny thing that they do with Trump all the time. They say literally the worst things you can possibly say about a human being, about him. And then they claim that it's his rhetoric, the guy who almost got assassinated at least twice, that is causing all of the problems. Check out this tweet from Kamala Harris and wonder, as I read this to you, is it odd that people try to kill this man? She wrote, this is yesterday, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump is out for unchecked power. He wants a military like Adolf Hitler had, who would be loyal to him, not our Constitution. He is unhinged, unstable, and given a second term, there would be no one to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses. I gotta tell you guys, that is as close to a direct incitement to violence that a public official can possibly make. I get it, she's not saying go kill the guy, and she's not that stupid. She's stupid, but not that stupid. But what would us, if you really believed that? Now remember, Chuck Schumer was sitting next to the guy 3 days ago at Al Smith dinner. Did Chuck Schumer not think he was an evil Hitler-like guy? And why would he sit next to him and laugh it up with him? Because none of them believe any of this nonsense. But the point is, you see what they're signaling to people. They're signaling to people somebody should kill that guy, because wouldn't you, if you had the chance, we've talked about this before, it's a thought experiment that people have done for decades, since World War II. If you could go back and kill Hitler, they always do it as baby Hitler. If you could kill Hitler before the Holocaust, before World War II, would it be ethical to do so? So in essence, she's saying, hey, this guy is Hitler. He's Hitler, and he's unhinged, and he's going to use the military to come kill you. Maybe somebody could do something? Just absolutely horrible. Robert F. Kennedy, who has just had about enough with the Democrats and left them, and although he is not, like Tulsi said, he's a Republican, he's now campaigning with Donald Trump. He saw Kamala's words there, and he said this is the kind of inflammatory poison that divides our nation and inspires assassins. It's particularly ironic since Biden and Harris have just pushed through DoD Directive 5240.01, giving the Pentagon power for the first time in history to use lethal force to kill Americans on U.S. soil who protest government policies. If you want to understand a politician, the words from her mouth have little relevance. Look at her feet. And the point being there, of course, that yes, he didn't make it up. I want you to Google it. We didn't have time. We're in a rush today because I got to get to the airport. We didn't have time to get into that policy that they have just signed. But yes, the Democrats have just pushed forward something so that the government would be able to shoot you if you were protesting. It wasn't Donald Trump that did it. Barack Obama is a man who had something to do with the coup of Joe Biden and who orchestrated a lot of this and who is desperately trying to get his fourth term in office because he had two under himself, one under Biden, and he wants this other one under Kamala, and he realizes he's 10 days from losing all of that. And if there's a God out there, he will lose it all. Barack Obama is very concerned about the sudden toxicity in politics. We'll juxtapose that with something.
I don't understand how we got so toxic and just so divided and so bitter.
He said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally. One that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans.
All right, so you get it. Obama has no idea how politics got so toxic, but, you know, Hitler. I do want to play one other thing on this, which is the story has largely been debunked already, but you guys get it. I know none of you are watching this like, oh my God, is it suddenly true that Donald Trump is Hitler? Did they finally find that smoking Hitler gun? None of it's true, obviously, right? Like, and we know the way he talks and can be sarcastic and everything else. But Doug Bergum went on CNN to explain a little bit about the ridiculous timing of all of this. And maybe John Kelly, if he really thought Donald Trump was Hitler, would have said it, I don't know, 3 months ago, 3 years ago, something like that.
But, you know, if he had concerns, you know, he could have said it when he was working for him 5 years ago. He could have said it when he left the White House. He waits till 12 days before the election. And so this is a time where this rhetoric has been around. You know, in 80 years ago, coming out of World War II, you know, Harry Truman was saying the same things about his opponent. So it's not a new thing in America that we have this kind of rhetoric at the end of the thing. And I think we have this case. Americans could actually look at the record of President Trump versus Harris, and I think the differentiation is clear. And on the things that matter to voters, a secure border, safe cities, affordable food, gas, an energy policy that strengthens America as opposed to strengthen our adversaries. You know, all these things. This is why President Trump has got momentum in the polls right now, and that's why the remaining voters are likely going to put him back in office.
All right, so you guys get the point there. It's like this is exactly what they were going to do, and they've probably got something else for the remaining week, like God only knows what else. But this is how they constantly play the shell game. Instead of having you focus on what you should be focused on, which is what Bergum pointed out there, like energy and safety and border and schools, the things that actually matter that maybe the government should have some involvement in, they literally want to scare you into thinking that the man who has Jewish grandchildren, whose daughter, Ivanka, converted to Judaism, is Hitler. It's so profoundly evil and idiotic, and it's just like, guys, we've been down this road before. Let's talk about Kalshi, and then we'll have a little more on Hitler. I want to tell you guys about an exciting new platform called Kalshi. It's the first and only legal place in the U.S. where you can trade on the outcome of real-world events. Kalshi just got approved to list election markets, making it the first time in 100 years you can legally trade on who will win the upcoming election. On Kalshi, you can trade on everything from who will win the presidency, which party will control Congress, and even swing state outcomes. You buy contracts for as little as a few cents, and if you're right, you get $1 per contract. So if you buy in at 33 cents, you can 3x your money if you're correct, and you can buy as many contracts as you want. What's great about Kalshi is that these market odds come from thousands of people actively trading, making them highly predictive, better than most polls. And right now, the odds are showing some interesting trends in this election. It's also the only platform where you can trade on these events in all 50 states. And if you're one of the first 500 people to sign up with my code, deposit $100, you'll get a $20 bonus to get started. Go to kalshi.com/Rubin, download the app and start trading on the big issues that matter to you. The election markets are live now, so don't wait. All right, and back to Hitler. Here's diversity hire Corinne Jean-Pierre, a woman who looks like a Muppet, and I'm fairly certain someone's hands up her butt when she's doing these press conferences, talking about Donald Trump, Hitler, and you're not going to believe this one, January 6th.
And I can't believe I even have to say this, but our nation's veterans are heroes. They are heroes. They're not losers or suckers, they are heroes. And to be praising Adolf Hitler is dangerous, and it's also disgusting.
So just to be clear, when you said we do agree, President Biden believes that Donald Trump is a fascist.
I mean, yes, we have said, he said himself. The former president has said he is going to be a dictator on day one. We cannot ignore that. We cannot. And we cannot ignore or forget what happened on January 6, 2021. That is real. Real people were affected by this. Law enforcement who were trying to protect the Capitol, protect elected officials in the Capitol, congressional members, senators, House members. Their lives were ruined because of that day. Because 2,000 people, again, 2,000 people were told by the former president to go there, to find the former vice president, to stop a free and fair election. That is what happened. Some of your colleagues were there, reported it, and saw it for yourselves. We cannot forget.
All right, so you get it. They've got fear. They've got fear. Guys, by the way, it is not to defend everything that Donald Trump did right after the election, and I don't want to relitigate all of that. However, I will fully defend the fact that he said go and peacefully protest. Remember, there were no plans to take over the government. No one had any weapons. One guy apparently had bought literally a Lego set of the Capitol beforehand. That's pretty, I had a Lego set of a fire department when I was a kid. Never used the instructions. I could still put it together. Freaking genius over here. But you get it. It's just fear. It's fear. It's fear. It's fear. And they're lizard people. And I'd like to play now a video of a lizard person invoking fear.
You know him. You've paid attention to his psyche for a long time. What do you think is going on there?
Well, I mean, I've said this from day one. He's weakness masquerading as strength. He's a broken person. And you're seeing that. He's becoming increasingly, and it's remarkable to be able to say this because he's often graded on the curve, but he's increasingly acting deranged, unhinged. The rhetoric coming from the Harris campaign absolutely mimics what we're watching. I mean, you saw that 39-minute curious excavate of just narcissism at another level, where people had to sort of stare at dear leader as he was dancing or zoning out. I mean, this is a profound and remarkable moment, and I think he's not meeting that moment.
All right, there's so much there with Newsom. The idea that he calls anyone a narcissist is like irony is dead moment. Also that he sits there, the sign behind him saying a new way forward. Oh, a new way forward by bringing in the VP who has said repeatedly she won't change anything, although yesterday for the first time she said she would change something, and Joe Biden said she did everything with her. None of it makes any sense. As for that 36 minutes that Donald Trump was dancing up there were two people that had medical emergencies in the crowd. And so to avoid like chaos, they had music playing and he got up there and enjoyed himself. It's so profoundly evil. And on top of everything else, that Gavin Newsom, who has destroyed California, about 1.2 million people have fled California post-COVID because of that evil MFer, that he gets up there and complains about anybody else is ridiculous. But what do I keep saying? As we get closer, and again, 9 days now, whatever it is, it's going to get closer and closer and closer, and so we're going to get like this, and then the crazy will ramp up. So tighter and ramp up, like that. Do I have an example of that? I do. Joy Behar from The View.
Kind of thing that I don't even know what to say anymore. If people still follow this fascist pig, then I don't know what else to say. I really don't. It's like, how many times do we have to hear him say that referring to immigrants as animals? Yeah. And Hitler called cleansing Germany of all those parasites, referring to immigrants, and he called Jews lice. And this guy, Trump, calls people vermin. It's the same language that Hitler used, okay?
That's where the framing is, and I think you've really hit the note. People hear these terms, Marxists and fascists, and things like that, strongmen thrown around, and I don't think, unfortunately, that they really do understand the difference between a fascist government and a democratic government.
I don't even know that I can analyze that clip, because what was Sonny Hostin wearing there? Was that a jet? Can you throw back that for just 1 second? Can we get back? What in the world was that?
I don't even know what
she's wearing some kind of Jedi robe?
What
the high hell? Did she steal that from Obi-Wan? All right, you get the point. When Trump's talking about vermin and all of these other names he's not talking about legal immigrants. He is talking about Venezuelan gang members. He's talking about people that rape people. He's talking about people who bring fentanyl over. But you're all idiots and liars, and you know it. You literally, ladies of The View, you have the job you have because a corporation pays you to sit there and lie so that the Democrats can retain power. It's as simple as that. There's a guy by the name of Ryan James Gurdusky. We've shown you a couple of videos of him on CNN lately, who is a sane voice at CNN, because they, as I always tell you, they can't fully fake it, because even their own audience, which is pretty damn dumb, every now and again, you got to give them something that is correspondent with truth. Otherwise, people just like can't swallow it anymore. But of course, it's always one sort of sane guy versus 10 lunatics. But here he is basically destroying this idiotic Trump-Hitler narrative.
And then you hear Trump's campaign saying, this is false. President Trump never said any of this. I mean, Trump, though, tonight praised authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin. Many people have an issue with appraising of any kind of either of these two leaders. Does the fact that he appears to have a strong affinity for those who are authoritarians in the leadership, is that deniable at this point?
Well, in the clip you showed, he didn't praise them. He just called Xi smart, which is the only praise he gave them.
Well, it's not an insult.
It's not, okay,
Right?
well, it's not, but it's not praise either, which is what you said it was, which it wasn't. But according to the Jeffrey Goldberg article, which we've talked about this entire night, you can't trust that article because the quote, 60,000 for an effing Mexican funeral, the only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's how much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one. And Jeffrey Goldberg did not care about printing something that they had no sources on the record for. And I, honest to God, like most Americans, do not care General Kelly's farewell tour where he tries to make amends for working for Donald Trump, since Democrats said we're going to run all these Republicans who work for Trump out of town unless they somehow make peace. So 2 weeks before Election Day, he runs to liberal journalist Susan Glasser about a conversation that allegedly happened 4 years ago. It doesn't pass a smell test. And that is why people are turned off to all of these stories.
Bingo, 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 bingo. Bravo, Ryan, right there. And I do want to address one other thing up top, because he debunked the story quite well, and I would recommend you do your own research if you think any of this is legit and it's true about the family voting for Trump, etc. When they lie about, oh, he praised Xi, he praises Putin, he doesn't praise them because he likes them, but saying that a leader of China is smart, is not praise. It's an acknowledgement. The guy might be evil and smart. There are evil geniuses. Have you ever heard of that term before? So you could be a really bad person and also smart. Kamala happens to be a bad person who's also dumb, but well, whatever. Guys, let's talk about the TWC emergency kit for kids, and then we'll have a bit more about Democrats waking up. Hey parents, if you've already got an emergency kit from the wellness company to keep yourself out of urgent care, great news. They've just launched their kids emergency kit, and it even comes with an optional EpiPen. You asked, they delivered. From strep throat to lice, infections to earaches, parenting throws a lot at you, and hospital bills are the last thing you need right now. That's why the kit comes with 6 critical medications like amoxicillin, chewable ivermectin, and an EpiPen, all designed to treat over 20 common illnesses. The kit was handpicked by the wellness company's medical board and includes a detailed guide to walk you through emergencies step by step. Ordering is simple. Only parents can order for their kids. You fill out an intake form, get a verification call for consent, and the kit is delivered right to your door. No more late-night pharmacy runs or scrambling when your child needs it the most. Plus, if any medications run out, there's an easy replenishment option so you can restock just what you need. Head on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45 plus free shipping at checkout. These kits are available only in the US of A. Act now. All right, so yesterday we spent quite some time talking about the new alliance on the left. That alliance includes Liz and Dick. That's pretty much it. I'm talking about the Cheneys. Well, on the other side, the alliance on the right now includes all sorts of people. You know the laundry list of characters from Tulsi and RFK and Elon and everybody else. But one of the interesting ones that I've been tracking over the last year is billionaire tech guy Bill Ackman. This guy has been a moderate Dem his entire life, post-October 7th. Woke up, I would say kindly or generously or gently nudging him to kind of come around and say he was going to vote for Trump, which he has. And here he is on CNBC debunking more of this nonsensical hoax.
He goes on to say that Trump had made admiring statements to him about Hitler, you're Jewish and care about Israel, had expressed contempt for disabled veterans, and it characterized those who died on the battlefield for the U.S. as losers and suckers. How do you get your head around that?
Well, one, it's one person stating a series of things, which I don't know whether...
There are 28 people who have worked for the president, not just in close proximity, but in the Oval Office with him, who have come out publicly and expressed things of this sort.
Actually,
Kamala Harris lost 92% of her staff, too. But
let's actually, I think that's a relevant sort of point. So if you want to talk about, I don't
by the way, I just want one piece on that. There are people who would argue that maybe she was not an organized person and was not a good executive in that regard, right? But I don't know of anybody who came out publicly against Kamala Harris claiming that she was for Hitler, that she was against the Constitution, and that she was calling people who died on the battlefield on our behalf losers. Let's stipulate that.
Okay, let me address. Number one, I don't think Trump is for Hitler. Okay, I think that's absurd. Okay.
And you know
first of all,
why say it when you know that?
Hey, I get this is my hour.
I know. Go
Maybe
ahead.
you give me an hour.
I mean,
okay,
go
let's see
ahead.
how long it takes.
Please.
You know it's not true. Why say it?
So one, Trump's not for Hitler. Most of Trump's friends are Jewish. He grew up in the New York City real estate community. He's got a daughter who's Jewish. He's got grandchildren who's Jewish. Right. He was probably the most pro-Israel president in terms of committing to do things and actually executing on them.
What he said.
Moving the embassy, delivering the control of the Golan Heights to Israel.
By the way, I'm just asking the question.
I think it's absurd.
Okay, so we're going to show you a bit more in just a second, but on its face, just this Hitler thing as it pertains to Donald Trump in his own life, right? Being around New York State real estate, a lot of Jewish people involved in that, his own children, literally his children and grandchildren and everything else. And you can see Sorkin, the host of the show, it's just like you would never grill anyone on the right who suddenly became a lefty. You would never grill them that way. Also, the fact that after 8 years of Trump at this point, 9 years of basically since he started running for president the first time around, that they still don't understand how he plays with language and uses sarcasm and everything else. And also that they think words. He said this thing about the guy who whatever, that matters more than, say, moving the embassy to Jerusalem or several of the other things that he did. And, how about peace in the Middle East, which we had under Donald Trump, which clearly we don't have anymore. Anyway, Ackman continued.
Let's talk about team for a moment, because it's not really Trump versus Harris. It's the Trump team versus the Harris team, right? So what have we seen? So Trump's picked J.D. Vance as his vice president. Walz is a self-described knucklehead, right? I can't imagine a world in which this guy is president of the United States. And you have to look at the vice president as a potential president of the United States. So that's, right. If I line them up, you've got a guy who grew up in a very, very challenged environment, addiction, family, rural America, makes his way to Yale, armed forces. Now he's, venture capitalist, senator, extremely articulate, obviously highly intelligent. So you compare and contrast. You have Elon Musk, who's probably one of the most consequential, certainly consequential business leaders 100%. In the world. It's proven he can take on 12 things at the same time and change the world. Okay, who's going to take? He really put himself out here in this election. And first, the only one talking about government efficiency, right? And Trump's all in. By the way, RFK. Okay, RFK is a highly intelligent, capable person, and he's focused on a couple of issues that mean a lot to me. Number one, the food industrial complex, what's happened to the health of Americans over the last couple of decades. He's going to focus on that. I think that is a critically important issue. I think examining the 73-shot regime that we give our kids and is worth.
Okay, now you see why I wanted to show you that clip, because the point here is that this is not just straight up Kamala versus Donald Trump. It's about teams, and that gets to the wide tent thing and the alliance that I've been talking about and everything else. And what we can see what a Donald Trump team looks like with Elon and RFK and Tulsi. Like you can start, and perhaps Bill Ackman and David Sachs, you can start seeing, there's interesting people from all lines of work who know how to build things, who have worked in the private sector, who are respected, they understand organization, and he could do it better this time than he did it last time. And I say that, as you know, as someone that one of my main reasons for not supporting him during the primary was I was afraid that could not happen. It happened, and now I've acknowledged it, and that's reality. The question with Kamala is, what is her team? Walz? You think Walz could be president? He's less qualified than her. You think that guy could intimidate any world leader in a room? And who are they going to surround themselves with besides radical leftists? Where are the industry leaders? Mark Cuban. Like, where are the people? Who is the brain trust behind them? Barack Obama, you guys want to do this again? I don't think so. But anyway, speaking of RFK, who could come in, who is addressing all of these health issues, who was a Democrat, who definitely did not like Trump, but now understands reality. He sees the way the world is, and he'd like to make it a little bit better, so then you start finding some allies that maybe would have been your enemies in different times. Well, here he is on stage with Trump yesterday.
With us tonight is the man who's going to help us get it all straightened out, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
We have 1,000 chemicals in our food that are illegal in Europe. But the problem is not from those chemicals. The big problem is corruption in our federal agencies. And these agencies are now owned by big pharma, by big food, and big agriculture. Don't you want a president who's going to get the chemicals out of our food? And don't you want a president who's going to get the corruption out of Washington, D.C.? And don't we deserve a president of the United States that's going to make America healthy again?
There's several things I love about that. The fact that RFK just gets up there, he doesn't say hello or wait for applause. He's just like, "You're all gonna die." Like, that's kind of funny. Also, the fact that he's becoming more golden than Donald Trump. I don't know what happens there, but that's kind of interesting. But the real point is, guys, he did not ever anticipate being on stage with Donald Trump. He now has spent his entire life fighting so that people will understand what they are eating, what they are putting in your body, what is in our soil, all the things that are slowly killing us. And that is something that every American, every single American, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, should care about. RFK followed up yesterday because, this whole McDonald's thing happened with Donald Trump, and they said it was a stunt. Apparently, he didn't actually take a job at McDonald's. I'm shocked. But RFK tweeted this: "Fast food is a part of American culture, but that doesn't mean it has to be unhealthy and that we can't make better choices. Did you know that McDonald's used to use beef tallow to make their fries from 1940 until phasing it out in favor of seed oils in 1990? The switch was made because saturated animal fats were thought to be unhealthy, but we have since discovered that seed oils are one of the driving causes of the obesity epidemic. Interestingly enough, this began to drastically rise around the same time fast food restaurants switched from beef tallow to seed oils in their fryers. People who enjoy a burger with fries on a night aren't to blame, and Americans should have every right to eat out at a restaurant without being unknowingly poisoned by heavily subsidized seed oils. It's time to make frying oil tallow again." And yes, guys, beef tallow, in essence, it's beef fat. You should be cooking in that. Eggs, you can also use butter. Certain things you can use olive oil, but don't get that smoke point too high. The point is, none of us know about any of these things, and now these guys are aligning. Like, they're literally, you have a guy who loves McDonald's and a guy who'd love people to be eating French fries that would be a little bit healthier. And these are things that actually matter to real people. Now let's shift, because Kamala Harris last night did a CNN town hall. It was prepackaged, it was slick, it was obviously staged, and the woman, I get it at this point. I am partisan. There is almost nothing she could say that I would agree with or anything else. But she was profoundly horrible. Here she is explaining her weakness. What would be your weakness? So here she is explaining her weakness, and I think we had a little fun with it.
Madam Vice President, everybody as human beings, we're not perfect. We have our flaws. We make mistakes. We have our weaknesses. Mm-hmm. And the office of the presidency can sometimes bring those weaknesses out in ways that the incumbent may not expect. What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect, so let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives. Perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength.
Well, my weaknesses are actually strengths. Oh. Yes. Very good. There you go. Very good.
I really do value having a team of very smart people around me.
I work too hard, I care too much, and sometimes I can be too invested in my job.
Like, how much more ridiculous could this all be? She is Michael Scott, except not likable. Like, it's so profoundly absurd. What is your weakness? Could she not have said, one of my weaknesses is that, let me think for a minute. One of my weaknesses is that, I don't know, I didn't get any votes in the primary, so I'm actually beholden to the system. I know she wouldn't have said that, but it's like, you can come up with something, lady. But she literally did the Michael Scott. Now let's go to something that I referenced earlier, where they always say that Donald Trump is the one who wants to destroy the branches of government and he wants to be a dictator and everything else. Well, here's Kamala actually saying she would like to, in essence, take out one of the branches of government, the judicial in this case.
With the Supreme Court being plagued with issues, would you be in favor of expanding the court to, say, 12, so each justice has only one circuit court other than Chief Justice to assist in making judgments more balanced?
Well, to your point, there is no question that the American people increasingly are losing confidence in the Supreme Court. I do believe that there should be some kind of reform of the court, and we can study what that actually looks like. But I do.
How about no, we can't? And you think Americans are losing confidence in the court? Americans are losing confidence in the office of the presidency. We're losing confidence in you. I mean, I never had any confidence in you, but like, no, the judicial branch actually right now, in essence, is our strongest branch. It's certainly not the legislative branch, right? It's not Congress and Senate, which is constantly deadlocked and doesn't do anything except give money to Ukraine. It's definitely not them. And it's not the office of the presidency, because we have a man who should be in an old age home. So that thing's obviously a little hampered. It's the judiciary that's the only sort of functioning firewall against all of the lunacy right now. But of course, she wants to pack it, right? And all they really mean is, is the judiciary, which all they do is decide what is legal, what is constitutional and not. She's basically saying, well, they're making some decisions that I don't like, so we got to take them out. That would be a little more, I don't know, what would you say, fascistic? But fascism is the word of the day, so here you go.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Oh, well, then I guess he's a fascist then. This was my favorite of the entire thing. Kamala was asked, I'm not even going to lead you. Just watch this.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes.
All right, I'm a nerd sometimes. Now that's interesting. So she researches things. She doesn't always have the answer immediately, because she researches and she studies things. And that, in some ways, I can see how the liberals, because they always live in their head, not sort of in their whole body, they might be like, oh, well, it's good to research things, except she obviously doesn't really research things. Do we have an example of her researching something? And then we'll show you what happened right after that. Here's Kamala. What is this? Like a month ago, she did a little research.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go.
Oh, yeah, she researched, she studied the maps, and fortunately Netanyahu ignored that dumb broad and went into Rafah, and as you know, last week killed Sinwar, the head of Hamas. And it was not a massive bloodbath. They moved. They're doing something that no other army probably in world history has ever done, which is moving civilian populations as they get the bad guys. But the idea, just try to think how insane that is, that Kamala Harris sat there with a map of Gaza, of Rafah, and looked where Egypt was, and was like, and I've thought about it, and I've looked at it, and no, they can't do it. Well, they just did it. They just did it, you absolute clown. Anderson Cooper, who, of course, he's just a Democrat activist, but as I always say, every now and again, they got to throw you something decent so he doesn't look like a total patsy. He did a nice job when it came to the border.
Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill.
And to fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I am not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense, because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
God, it's like she's a perfect combination of dumb and evil. She's the perfect Democrat at this point. She says nothing. She laughs in places she's not supposed to laugh. In essence, she's saying, I want to build a wall now. And she's saying Trump's flaw is that he didn't build a wall, but he didn't build a wall because you guys called him racist, and Chuck Schumer and the Democrats decided that they were going to hamper him all the way. Oh, and you guys had a fake impeachment for the guy claiming he was a Russian operative when actually you guys had a lot more to do with Russian confusion, like, I don't know, say 51 former intelligence agents claiming that Hunter Biden's laptop was not real when it was. We're almost at the finish. We got to be a little short today because I got to catch this flight. But I want to just show you, one of the things I've been talking about lately is that the Democrats have just so confused people as to what the role of government is. Government is not there to help you. Government should stay out of your way so you can pursue happiness. It's in the founding docs right there. But they have so many people so confused. Check this out from, The View.
A lot of these young men look to him because they think they're going to help on the economy. I just want to give you a quick little 101 lesson here. It's corporate greed that put you where you are today. It's corporate greed that separated the haves and have-nots. They're suffering right now, and especially men. It is not, the government will be your one chance right now to hopefully raise those minimum wages. The Democrats are the party of the working.
Evil. I don't even know how to describe that. We showed a video that I did with Piers Morgan debunking some idiot leftist on the minimum wage. Like, why do you want everyone to have minimum wage? Also, what right does the government have to tell private corporations how much they should pay? The market should dictate that. And the idea that the government, guys, the government is here to help you. Do we have a... Yeah, we do. Okay, go.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Yeah, you get it. All right, guys. We have a pre-tape for you tomorrow. I'm on Jesse Waters on Fox tonight. A couple other Fox shows, I think, during the day. We're still sorting out the schedule, but I will be on the #1 show on late night TV with Gregory Gutfeld tomorrow evening, and then some interesting stuff over the weekend. So stay tuned. Follow us on Locals for some insider info. And unfortunately, no post-game show today because I got to get going, but I love you guys. So, see ya. Bye.